Right, hi, good day everyone. So today we are going to be doing a summary of paper 2, number 8, CSEC Math questions. Now, number 8 is paper 2, section 2, sorry, it's paper 2, section 2 question. The questions that we are going to be doing is algebra, relations and functions and graph. Topics tested is relations and functions, inverse of a function, composite functions. These things can be tested. These things I did I went through them when we were doing number 4. So look at the summary for number 4, paper 2, number 4 questions, and you'll see me go through these things. Um, Plotting points on a graph. When you plot a point, the just most important thing is to make sure it is always your x value first and then your y value. So always x and then y, right? And we should know that our x-axis is the horizontal line and x and then y. Your x-axis is your horizontal line, your vertical line is your y-axis. Graph inequalities, velocity time graph, completing the square, and then sketching a quadratic curve. Right, and they may have like a few more things, but this is just the some of the topics that usually comes. Right, so for your velocity time graph, one of the things that you have to remember is when you see it is going up like this, that's acceleration, and to calculate acceleration you just need to find the gradient of that line, right? The line that is increasing. Then we have uniform velocity. At uniform velocity, acceleration is equals to 0. Acceleration is a change in the change in velocity over your time, right? So there's no change in velocity here. It has plateaued off, so there was no acceleration. And then uniform retardation or deceleration is when it is decreasing. So when you find your gradient of this line, you simply multiply by -1, and that would give you your deceleration. Alright, so deceleration is a negative value. Now, sometimes in these graphs, they may give you these graphs and tell you to find the total distance traveled. Your total distance traveled is the distance, not the total, not the distance. It is the area of the shape underneath that curve. So if I wanted the total distance, I would have to find the area of this entire thing. If I wanted to find the distance from O to A, I would have to find the area of this triangle here. If I wanted to find the distance from D to C, I would have to find the area of BDC, right? That is that triangle. If I wanted to find the distance of my uniform, I would just have to find that rectangle. If I wanted to find my total distance travel, it is a trapezium, and we should know our, if you look at our summary of number 6 questions, you will see me going more into how to solve the area of a trapezium, right? But that is usually how you would find your total distance travel or your distance travel over a small period of time, or even if you want to find the acceleration, the deceleration, or the uniform velocity, which is also known as there's no acceleration there, right? These are formulas to recall. Area of a triangle is base by height over 2. If it's a rectangle, length by width, or length by breadth, whichever one you want to call it. If it is a trapezium, it's a half by A plus B by height. A and B is the length of your parallel sides. These are your sides that if you extend them, they will never intersect each other. And gradient, which is calculated by using to calculate the acceleration, you just find the gradient. That is why you have two coordinates, and it is y2 by minus y1 by x2 minus x1. Alright, these are your formulas to recall. Once you know all of this, the rest of it is very easy to do. Right, then quadratic curves. Well, first off, for quadratics, we just need to recognize that a quadratic is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. Right, a is your coefficient of x squared, b is your coefficient of x, c is your constant. Right? Then in quadratic curves, we have something called parabolas, right? These are curves, they are not straight lines, right? If there are maximum and minimum values in our. This is where it is the turning point. If you have a parabola that looks like a smiley face, you have a minimum value. If the turning point is the minimum value. If it is a frowning face, the turning point is the maximum value. And we would know that your turning point is either maximum or minimum. Just depends on if the coefficient of x squared, in this case is a, is positive or negative. So if it is positive, we have minimum values, and if it is negative, we have maximum values. Right? Now to complete the square, to do these things, to do usually to find this, to find the turning point and those type of stuff, we need to complete the square. Now completing the square is in the form a by x plus h to the power of 2 plus k. There are two ways that you can complete the square. Um, Axis of symmetry. We have axis of symmetry, maximum and minimum value coordinates or turning point. To find the axis of symmetry, when you find complete a square, the axis of symmetry is your h value multiplied by -1, and your minimum or maximum value, depending if a is positive or negative, which we learned just now, is your k value. So your turning point is -h by and k. Right? That is if you complete the square using this format. Now, the alternative method, there are formulas that you can learn where your axis of symmetry is equal to x. The x value is minus b all over 2a, and your maximum or minimum value is you substitute this x value into your quadratic equation, and that would give you a maximum or minimum value. So your turning point would be your axis of symmetry and your maximum or minimum value. Alright, that is the next way that you could have do it. Sketching a quadratic expression, there are a few things that you need. One, if a is positive, that means if it is more than 0 or if it is less than 0. If it is more than 0, the parabola, that is the shape of your quadratic curve, looks like a smiley face. If it is negative, then it looks like a frowning face. And we also know from that, we know that if it is a smiley face, your turning point is a minimum point, and if it is a frowning face, your turning point is maximum. Right? The turning point is your axis of symmetry and your minimum or maximum value. If you complete the square, it's basically negative h and k. But if you are using the formula, you will say x is equal to, your x coordinate would be negative b over 2a, where a and b, a is your coefficient of x squared in the quadratic and b is your coefficient of x. Your minimum and maximum values is substitute the x value into the quadratic equation and you'll get your k, or your minimum value. Alright? Y is the intercepts. This is when x is equals to 0. So you just basically, it's basically your k value. Your y-intercept is basically whatever k is equal to. And then your x-intercept is when your quadratic expression is equal to 0. This is, you'll have to solve your quadratic. Right? And there are three ways that we know how to solve a quadratic. There's completing the square. There is your factorization method, and then there's the formula method, that the formula can be found in the formula sheet. Minus b plus or minus x is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Right? Some of these were done already, but we'll go through them. Right, let's go through them, and then the ones that we have not done, I will do it together with you guys. So the function of f and g as followed. F of x is 1 plus 3x over x minus 1, where x cannot be equals to 1. Why? Because if you substitute x is equals to 1, especially in your denominator, you'll get divide by 0. Whenever we divide by 0, that function is undetermined. So they gave you the value for when x would be undetermined. Alright, then we have g of x is 5 minus x. When they say calculate the value of f of minus 2, when you compare f of minus 2 with f of x, we can clearly see that x is negative 2. Right, and you substitute it into this and you'll get 1 plus 3 by minus 2 over minus 2 minus 1. This is 1 by minus 6 over minus 3. 1 minus 6 is minus 5 over minus 3. The negatives cancel out. A negative and a negative is a positive, right? So you'll get positive, and then 5 over 3, you can leave it as this, or you'll get 1 and 2/3. Alright, let's go on to part 2. Determine a simplified expression of fg of x. Now, when there are more than one functions together, we call this a composite function. What I like to do when we're doing composite functions is separate the two functions. So now I have f open bracket g of x, and if I compare it with f of x, I can clearly see that x would now be g of x, or no, let's put it how we did it here. In the place of g of x, I put the equation. So I have f of 5 minus x, and I compare it with f of x, the function, and I can see that in my brackets, x would be now, the value of x is now 5 minus x. So wherever I see x in my f of x equation, I'm going to put 5 minus x. So it will be 1 plus 3 by 5 minus x over 5 minus x minus 1, right? Which is, when I multiply it out, I'll get 1 plus 15 minus 3x over 4 minus x, and this is the value that you're going to get, and that's the simplified version of fg of x. Alright, are we good so far, everyone? Yeah, okay. Now, this here, immediately I know that this is a velocity curve, and from what we learned in that one page, let's see if we can do this, right? They said the velocity time graph below describes the journey of a car over a period of 70 seconds. The journey is represented by 5 stages, 1 to 5, right? Then we have during the following complete the following statements. During stage 4, right, the car is traveling at how many meters per second? That is what is the velocity, right? At 45 meters per second, right? With acceleration of, there's no acceleration, remember the acceleration is a change in velocity. There's no change in velocity here, so that is why it is 0, right? And then determine the maximum acceleration of the car during the 70 seconds. So when we're talking about acceleration, we're looking for the increase, right? Stage 5 is not an increase, it's not acceleration, it's a deceleration or retardation, however you want to put it. Alright, so the two accelerations would either be 1 or 2, 1 or 3, right? To find the acceleration, I told you to find the gradient. So you take your point of your initial and your final for stage 1, and then you find the acceleration. So the acceleration of stage 1 was 1.3 meters per second, and the acceleration for stage 3, the starting point for stage 3 was 25 and 20, and the ending point was 35 and 45, right? That was the gradient for that line is 2.5 meters per second. So we know what is the maximum, 2.5 meters per second, and that is how you would do this question here. Alright? Then they ask you to calculate the total distance traveled over the 25 seconds. Again, the area of that trapezium. Hold on, no. Calculate the distance traveled by the car during the first 25 seconds. Where is it? The first 25 seconds would be here, this here, and that shape is a trapezium, which is a half multiplied by the length of your two parallel sides, so the length of this side here and this side here. So this here is 5, 10, so it's 10, and this side is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And then, so it would be 25 plus 10, which is 35. So a half of 35 by your height, which is 5, 10, 15, 20 by 20. Alright, that's what I have here. A half by 5 plus 25 by 20 is 300. So your distance travel would be 300 meters. And that is how you would do this question. Alright, this question here is, what year is this? January 2024. So let's do this first one. G of x would be, you might go on now, Celia. That's okay, that's okay. G of 2 is equals to 5 minus 2 to the power of 2, which is 5 minus 4, which is equals to 1. Everybody got this? Great. Next one. Jashon, you got that? That's what Celia said yes. Jashon? Okay, I guess something is wrong there. Now this one, we need to find the inverse first and then, right? So that is f of x is equals to 2x minus 1 all over 3. First things first, you are going to make this be y. Y is equals to 2x minus 1 over 3. Interchange x and y. Interchange, which is x would be 2y minus 1 over 3. Then make y the subject. Because everything is being divided by 3, I need to carry across that 3. So I'm going to get 3x is equals to 2y minus 1. Then we go backwards from BODMAS, right? You carry across minus 1, which will be 3x plus 1 is equals to 2y. Then you carry across, divide by 2, multiply by 2. So y would be 3x plus 1, all divided by 2. So f inverse x is equals to 3x plus 1 over 2. So f inverse 3 would be 3 by 3 plus 1 over 2, which is 3 3s are 9, that's 9. Plus 1 is 10. 10 divided by 2 is equals to 5. And that is your answer for this question. Did everyone get this answer? Or if you did not, do you understand? Okay, great. Celia and Jashon? Okay, good. Jashon? Yeah? Alright. Next one, derive an expression in the simplest form. Hold on, I need to zoom this up and I need to get a few things. So before, let's go here, take a picture of the functions. Add current page. Right, that's the function, so I won't have to go back and forth, right? So they want fg of x, which we can clearly see is a composite function because it is made up of more than one function. So fg of x, remember I like to tell you, separate the two functions. So this will turn into f, instead of g of x, you put x minus x to the power of 2, right? So now, if you compare this with f of x, we can clearly see in that function x is equals to 5 minus x squared. So that means f of 5 minus x squared would be equals to 2 by 5 minus x squared minus 1 all over 3, which is 10 minus 2x squared minus 1 all over 3, which is equal to 2x squared minus 10 minus 1 is 9. So plus 9 all over 3. I can leave it like this or multiply the entire thing by 3 to get rid of that 3 underneath. So I would get f of g of x would be, if I do that, would be 2x squared plus 9 over 3. Let's leave it as over 3, right? And that would be your answer. Alright, let's go in the next question. Sketch the graph of the function. 3 into 3? No, no, no. Well, if you're gonna do it like that, you have to say it will be 2x squared over 3 plus 9 over 3, right? 3 into 3, 1, 3 into 9, 3, and then it will be 2x squared over 3 plus 3 over 1. It just makes it complicated. You'll have to separate the two because remember that 3 is also over 2x squared. So you can't cancel off the 3 just so. Yeah? Yeah. So, let's just erase this here. Sketch the function g of x. G of x, which we know is 5 minus x squared. 5 minus x squared in the space provided below. On your sketch, indicate the maximum, minimum point, and the roots of your function. So, first of all, what type of parabola would this be? A smiley face or frowning face? The coefficient of x squared is negative, so your function should be looking like, your parabola should be looking like this. Yeah? Then we're gonna say your turning point, or yeah, your axis of symmetry. Let's go use your axis of symmetry is equals to minus b all over 2a, which would be b is 0. Hold on. There's no b. Yeah. That is minus 0 over 2 by minus 1. So the axis of symmetry is 0, right? When you substitute these values, then your turning point, your maximum or minimum value, I should say, not your turning point, your mm, it has a and it has c. It does not have b, which is the coefficient of x. Yeah. So first off, you substitute to get your um because it's a frowning face, we know the maximum point. To get your maximum point, you'll substitute x is equals to 0 into g of x. So that would be g of 0 would be 5 minus 0 squared, which is equals to 5. Right? So my turning point would be x is 0, y is 5. Right? Then you want to know, so first off, we know the turning point, we know our axis of symmetry, which is x is equals to 0. That is on your y-axis. Yeah? Then we know your turning point, your maximum value, your axis of symmetry. We want to know when x is equals to, well, we already found when x is equals to 0. 1 second. Undo. When y is equals to 0. So when this function is equal to 0, what is it equal to? So, do I have to do that? Yeah. When y is equals to 0, so when g of x is equals to 0, we are going to say 5 minus x squared is equal to 0. We always want x to be positive, so we have positive x squared is equals to 5, so x would be the square root of 5, which is x is equals, the square root of 5 is equal to positive 2. I'm going to put it to 1 decimal place, guys. It'll be positive 2.2 or negative 2.2. Okay? Then, so we have everything now. Alright? So they said on your sketch, indicate the maximum. Okay, so first off, your maximum or your turning point. Let's make this, wait, let me, yeah. Someone is trying to join just now, huh? Hi, Janae. Alright, so when we're Janae, I'm doing number 8, okay? Um 0. So if I know you came for the number tens, but I'm doing 8 right now. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. And I'll just go below negative 1. Hold on, this is negative 1. Negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. My turning point, right, is when x is 0, y is 5. So that's this coordinate right here. Right? Then we know that when when y was equal to 0, that is on your x-axis, you got 2.2 and negative 2.2. So each little space is 0.2, so I'm going to zoom in. Alright, so 2.2 is going to be, let's put this in red so I wouldn't have to make a big fuss. So 2.2 is going to, negative 2.2 is going to be here. And then positive 2.2 is going to be right here. Shoot. It's going to be right here. Alright? So this is how it will look. So now let's just zoom out. This is how it's going to look. Excuse my now you guys, if you have to do it very neatly, please. And they said on your sketch indicate the maximum or minimum point and the roots of your the function. So you are going to see this is your, first off, it is a maximum point. Your maximum point is this, because y, your quadratic x squared was a negative, right? So you have a maximum value, not a minimum value, right? And then you indicate here and here would, and sketch on your graph indicate the maximum and minimum points and the roots of the function. The roots of the function would be this coordinate here and this coordinate here, negative 2 and 2.2. And that is how you would do this question. Do we all understand that, guys? Go ahead. Alright, and that's 3 marks there. Okay, so now let's go on to the next question here. They said the graph below shows a quadratic function. On the grid above, draw a tangent to the curve. A tangent to the curve just means it's touching the curve, right? And it's touching the curve, right? So they want, on the grid below, draw a tangent to the curve at x is equals to 1. So at x is equals to 1, that is this coordinate right here. Let's zoom in so you guys could see. Right, at x is equals to 1, it is this coordinate right here. Oh, what is going on with my pen? It's this point right here. So you need to draw now a line that is touching that line. Now obviously if you use your ruler, let's use your ruler here. Let's make this a little bit smaller because I don't need a big ruler like this. Alright, so you're going to take your ruler, a clear ruler, and then you're going to twist, 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 twist. And you see how it's touching there? Is that good? Hold on. Yeah, right there. Do we see it, everyone? Hold on. Do I need to make that a little bit? Let me twist that a little bit because it's supposed to... Hold on, huh? Right here. Yeah. Alright? So you're going to draw a line. Let's draw a blue line. Oh, shoot. Undo. You're going to draw a line like this. Right? And that is how... Oh. Let's X this off. I don't need this anymore. Right? So this would be your line. Or your tangent line that meets the curve at where x is equals to 0. Right? Then they say use a tangent drawn to estimate the gradient. Right? So first off, we know this is where it meets the curve. So this would be your coordinates here because we only want, this would be x is 1, y is, hold on, let me change my color. Right. X is 1, y is 3 because it's right here, right? 1, 3. And this coordinate here, it intersects the y-axis, so x is 0, y is negative 2. So my gradient, again, we should know the formula for my gradient is, so I have 0, negative 2, and 1, 3, right? So m is equals to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we know, right, excuse me, we know that x1, y1, x2, y2. Depends. It don't have to be my combination. You could have chose this side to be group 1. So it would have been 3 minus 2 over 1 minus 0, which is 5 over 1, so the gradient is 5. And that is how you would find your gradient of your line. Do we all understand this? Now, the next part is write down the equation of the tangent. So we know that my gradient y, now first off, I taught you guys that gradient is m, gradient is 5, and where it intersects your y-axis is known as your C. C is your y-intercept, so it intersects your y-axis as 2. This is why it is 1 mark. You don't need to do that much working. Y is equals to 5x plus 2, and that is your answer for this here. Is it? No, not plus 2. It's minus 2 because y is negative 2. Minus 2, and that would be your answer here. Do we understand this, everyone? Right, I don't think that these questions are very hard once you learn the few things, right? This one here, we did this already, so I'm just going to go through it. The diagram below shows the graph of, the diagram below shows a graph of two functions on the same PF axis. The line G and H are perpendicular. What are the rules that we know for perpendicular lines, guys? What about the gradients? Anybody could tell me? Perpendicular lines, their gradients are what? The product of their gradients are what? Not the same, that's parallel lines. Perpendicular lines, they are negative 0. So perpendicular lines, the gradients, the product of gradients is equal to negative 1. So this means that the gradient of H multiplied by the gradient of line G would be negative 1. Everyone understands that? They are equal only when they are parallel. If they told you that's parallel lines, then they have the same gradient. Alright, everybody good with this? So equation, Determine the equation of the line G. Now line G here, line G, that's this line here, we have two coordinates. If it intersects your y-axis, they call it f of x, but it is your y-axis, that means x is equal to 0. So this point is 0, 3, and this point here is minus 6, 0. So I need to find my gradient. When I find my gradient, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, it is a half. I know they want the equation of the line. I use in my y-intercept, which is where it intersects the y-axis, so y is equals to 3. So that means c is equals to positive 3. So my equation for this line will be y is equals to half x plus 3. Do we understand that, everyone? Natalia, Celia, Janae, we good? Okay. The equation that represents line H. Now line H, if you look at line H, again, if you want to find the equation, you need to find the gradient. This rule here, the gradient of line H and the gradient of line G is negative 1. We know the gradient of line G was a half, so the gradient of line H would be, gradient of line H multiplied by half is negative 1. You make the gradient of line H your subject, right, which will give you negative 2. Then we have one coordinate here, which is 4, 0. So we have one coordinate and the gradient. You substitute it into the equation y is equals to mx plus c. You calculate what c is. C is equals to 8. So my equation of my line will be y is equals to negative 2x plus 8. And that is it. Alright. Coordinates of point P. Now, if we look at where point P is located, it is when the two equations intersect. That means we're finding when both of them are equal, right? Now, we see that y is equal to half x plus 2, and then y is also minus 2x plus 8. You let a half x plus 3 be equal to minus 2x plus 8. You solve for x, you get x is equals to 2. Then you substitute x is equals to 2 in whichever one. If you want to substitute it, y is equals to half x plus 3 or y is equals to minus 2x plus 8, you will get y is equals to 4. So x is 2 and y is 4, and that is how you would get this. Everybody good? Right. Now, this one here, I am going to show you another way, Celia. Janae, do you understand completing the square? We did it, you know. So sure, no problem. So there are two ways, well, actually there are three ways that we can solve completing the square. All you need to know is negative h is minus b over 2a. Right, so negative h would be minus negative 24 over 2 by 4. So negative h is equal to, this is the way I'm showing you, negative, that's 24 divided by 8. 4 2s are 8, yeah. 8 could go into 24 how many times, guys? 3 times. So we want positive h. H is 3 by negative 1, so h is negative 3. Right? Then you're going to substitute h is equal to negative 3, not h, or x is equal to negative 3 into this equation, and you'll get what k is equal to. Right? This is just a smart way if you remember your formula. By minus 3 squared minus 24 by minus 3 plus 31. Oh, something is wrong. 3 3s are 9. 4 multiplied by 9 is 36. 36 minus 24 by minus 3 is 100. Ooh, did I do something wrong? Guys, no. Let's erase this. First off, let me do it like how I would normally do it because I don't want to confuse you guys and then after I made a mistake. Right? So first off, how I would complete the square is step 1, factorize out the 4 from the no, group the x's. So you have, I'm doing this step by step. Group the x's. So that's 4x squared minus 24x plus 31. Right? Then I'm going to factorize out a, which is factorize out 4. So 4 by x squared minus 4 by what was 24? 4 by 6. So 6 fours are 24. So you know that's this plus 31. That's step 2. Step 3 is 4 by x squared minus 6x, and I'm going to add, open bracket, a half multiply by the coefficient of x, which is minus 6, and square it, close bracket, let's put that square bracket, plus 31. And because the new terms that I added was 4 multiplied by a half by minus 6 squared, I'm going to subtract that out so I don't change the equation, right? So it is a half by minus 6 is minus 3. Minus 3, let's go. That's 4 by minus 3 squared, right? So this here is a perfect square, so now I'm going to factorize that. That's 4 open bracket x minus this here, a half of 6 is minus 3, so minus 3 all squared, right? Plus 31 minus 4, that's 31, and that would be minus 36, 36, yeah, 36, which would be 4 open bracket x minus 3 all squared minus 5. And that is the answer for you completing the square. Now, guys, the next way that you can do it is, we know that h is equals to minus b over 2a, which h is known as your high axis of symmetry. Yeah? So h is minus b over 2a. We know a is 4, b is negative 24, and c is 31. So h would be minus 24 over 2 by 4, which h is equals to 24 divided by 4 to the 8. So h is equal to 3, right? And if I look at, right, so h is equals to 3, right? If I'm using it from my squared, if I'm my, this here, hold on. So then I'm going to multiply this by negative 1, so h is equals to negative 1. Negative 3, sorry. Now, my k, I'm going to substitute h is equals to negative 3 into this. So it is going to be the next method is, you are going to what you call it, equate the coefficients, right? So you multiply this out, you say 4x squared minus 24x plus 31. When you multiply this out, it's going to be ax squared plus 2ahx plus h squared plus k. No, ah squared. Alright, so when you multiply that out, you're going to get this. So you're going to equate it with ax squared plus 2ahx plus ah squared plus k. Right? So if you look at the coefficients of x squared, right, you will see that they're both a is equals to 4. So I'm equating 4x squared with ax squared. I can see that the coefficients of x squared is a and the coefficient of x squared is 4. So a is equals to 4. Then if I look at the coefficients for x, that's 2ahx. So 2ahx will be equated with minus 24x. Alright, I know a is 4, so it'll be 2 by 4hx is equals to negative 24x. So now I can say 4 2s are 8. 8h is equals to negative 24. So therefore h would be negative 24 divided by 8. So h is equals to negative 3. Then, hold on. The next way you could have done it, well, not the next way. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to say ah squared plus k is equals to 31. So a, which is 4, and h, which is minus 3 squared, plus k is equals to 31. So that's 4 by 9 plus k is equals to 31. So that's 36 plus k is equals to 31. So k would be 31 minus 36. So k is equals to negative 5. And that is the next way you can equate it. So you know a is 4, h is negative 3, and k is negative 5. Whichever method you are comfortable with, stick with that method. Right? Don't stress yourself out trying to learn a next method. Whichever one, even if one of them is longer than the other, if you understand the longer way, go right ahead and do it. It's up to you. So the first method is actually bracketing off the x's, then factorizing out a, which is 4. 4 by x is 4x squared, and 4 by minus 6 is minus 24. So, 4 would be outside here. Then, in this bracket here, you're going to add a half, open bracket, a half by the coefficient, multiplied by the coefficient of x, and you're squaring it. Right? And because we now add a term of 4, because we're multiplying 4 by this, because we add that term, we have to subtract what was added in, which is minus 4 by a half by minus 6 is minus 3, right? Minus 3 squared. So now this here is a perfect square where you have two squared terms, right? And the next term is 2 multiplied by the square root of one of the squared terms multiplied by the square root of your next squared term. So because not the coefficient, because the sign in front of that term here that is not a squared term is minus, I know I have to subtract x minus 3 squared, and this here 331 minus 36 is minus 5. So I know that this would be here, and then you could see that a is 4, h is negative 3, and k is 5, right? Or you could do it with the comparing, with equating the coefficients, right? Do we understand this, Celia and Janae? Whichever method that you choose. Right, now they ask you on the axis below, sketch the graph 4x squared. Is that plus? I highly doubt that's plus. Is it? It's not plus, it's minus. Minus 24 plus 31, indicating the coordinates of the maximum and minimum point and the y-intercept. Now, we already know that your turning point is negative h, which is minus minus 3, and k is minus 5. Right? That we have that here already. So, you don't really need to worry about that. Then you want to know the y-intercept. Y-intercept is when x is equal to 0. So when x is equals to 0, what do you get? You are going to get, your y-intercept will be 0 and 31. Right? Yeah. Now, you have 0 to 31, and you have your turning point, which is 3, negative 5. Right? And you just sketch the curve. You don't have to be, exact. You just need to say that your turning point, which in this case is a, hold on, I think I did this. Yeah, because x squared, the coefficient of x squared is positive, we have a minimum point of 3 minus 5, and it does look like a smiley face. Right? Then this is state the equation for your axis of symmetry. Your axis of symmetry is x is equals to minus b over 2a, which x is equals to positive 3. And that is how you would find this here. Right? Okay. Now I'm going to be doing May, June 2023. Let's look at this. Complete the table for the function y is equals to minus x squared plus x plus 7. Alright, let's go. So they want to know what y is equals when x is minus 3. That's minus. Let's pay attention. So when x is equals to minus 3, y would be minus by minus 3 squared plus minus 3 plus 7, which would be minus 3 3s are 9 plus minus 3 plus 7. Minus 9 minus 3 is minus 12. Minus 12 plus 7 is minus 12 plus 7 is minus 5. So this is minus 5 here. Alright? X is equals to negative 1. Y would be minus minus 1 squared plus minus 1 plus 7, which would be negative 1 minus 1 plus 7. That's negative 2 plus 7, which is positive 5. Right? When x is equals to positive 1, that's negative 1 plus 1. So you're going to get 7 here. And then 3, this should be 1. Right? So this is how it's going to look. You're going to do the working for each one of them. Right? Then they said on the grid below, right, on the grid below, draw a graph for y is equals to this for when x is the range for x is negative 3 to 4, between negative 3 and 4. Write the coordinates of your maximum minimum point of your graph. Now if what you're gonna do is plot the coordinates. I am going to hold on, I'm going to get that table because I don't want to be going back and forth. Alright, I'm just gonna put it here for now, and then when I finish plotting the points, right, so I have negative 3 when x is negative 3, y is negative 5. So I have this coordinate right here. You can either make an x or a point with a circle over it, that's up to you. Right? Next one, when x was negative 2, y was 1. So when x is negative 2, y is 1, that would be right here. Right? When x is negative 1, y is 5. That's right here. When y was 7, x was 0, so that's on your y-axis. Then the next one, when x was 1, y was 0. Not when x was 1, y was 7. Right? When x was 2, y is 5. When x was 3, y was 1. When x was 4, y was negative 5. This is going to be right here. Alright, so your graph is going to look, I don't like drawing this, but we'll try to do it. Again, use when you're drawing it the first time, lightly press on your pencil, okay? Something along those lines. But it must be a smooth line, right? Not like how I drew it, kind of, you know. Right, then they say write down the coordinates of your minimum or maximum point. Because x was negative, is x negative, this would be a rounded shape, right? You can check it just to be sure. We know that your axis of symmetry is minus b over 2a, which would be, what is b? That is minus 1 over 2 by negative 1, which would give you positive a half, right? That's your maximum point. So that's a half, which is true. If you go down there, that's a half between 0 and 1. And then you substitute a half into the equation, right, to get your y value. So I'm going to be minus, open bracket, 1 over 2 squared plus 1 over 2 plus 7 would give you 7 and a quarter. So this would be 7 and a quarter. Right? So you can do that work, and then you could just say that this point here was 7 and a quarter. It's a little above 7, right? Or 7.25. It's all up to you. If you look at it, it's probably about point 2. If you draw it properly, this is 2, so I drew it a little bit up. However, you can see a little bit up, but you can see it's point 2, and it's probably right here. So it is 0.25. But you can also use your formula to figure out what is your turning point, right? So use your formula. What I would say is use the formula to find the turning point, and then just state it on the graph, or make your graph look as though that you use your graph that you use a graph to get those points. If you understand what I'm saying. Yeah? Recorded. Alright, so we're going to do part D. Let's zoom in. Right, write down the equation of the axis of symmetry for the right, so that means x is equals to a half. Right, you can either use the formula there, or you can use your graph. It's up to you. Using the graph, find the solutions for the equation. That's when y is equals to 0. So when y was equals to 0, for this, guys, I would honestly use my calculator. Everybody knows how to use a calculator to get a quadratic. Right? Mode, if you can, mode equation quadratic is 2. A was negative 1. B was 1. And C was it 31, guys? 7. Where did I get 31 from? So I know there's negative 2.19. How would I get 2? Okay, negative 2. Negative 1, 1, and 7. So if I look at the graph here, I can actually see where my answer is, right? I can say, if you draw it properly, you don't need to use a calculator, by the way. I can see that it intersects my x-axis at probably 2.2, right? I'm approximating, you don't need to put the exact answer. And then this here is about either 3.2, or I would say 3.1. So negative 2.2 and 3.1. Right? And when I use my calculator, that's exactly the answers that I got. Yeah? Oh, I X off the calculator. But that's exactly the answers that I got. So if you draw it properly, right, and fluently, without making these little, lines like this, there's these crooked lines, you should get your answer. So from using the graph, you'll say x is negative 2.2 or positive 3.1. Alright, if you have something around these places, you should be good. On the page, on page 24, draw a line through the points negative 3, 1, and 0, 8. Negative 3, 1, and 0, 8. Negative 3, 1. So x is negative 3, y is 1. So I'm going to put that in blue. Negative 3, 1. And what was the next coordinate, guys? 0, 8. That's x is 0, y is 8. That's this one right here. So I'm going to draw a line that connects those 2 points. Alright. What did they say about this? Determine the gradient of that line in the so we know determine the equation of the line. So first off, my y-intercept, so C is equals to 8. Why? Because it intersects your y-axis at 8, right? So C is equals to 8. Now I need to find my gradient. M is equals to y1, x1, y1, x2, y2. So that's 8 minus minus 1 over 0 minus minus 3, which would be 8 plus 1 is 9. 9 over 3 is equals to 3. So the equation of the line is y is equals to 3x plus 8. And that is your answer for this question. Are we good so far? And that is 12 marks. This was a good bit, but do we understand this, everyone? I'm asking because I want to know if you guys would be able to do. Go ahead. Right? I don't think. Oh, I need to do these type of questions with you guys. The R. But honestly, guys, these questions are not very hard. Once you know about velocity, time graph, and those type of things, I don't think this should be hard. But let's go ahead and actually, because we're running out of time, most likely, guys, I'm going to be using my answers that I have from now. So this was June 2023, January 2023, and these solutions on um can be found on the YouTube page, or if you're a student with me, there's a link there's a link called CSEC Maths 2024 to 2017 questions and solutions, so you will get this, right? The PDF for it. The function g, h, and x are defined as the followed. They want to know g of x minus 2. So wherever I see x, I'm going to put x minus 2. Right, so that's x minus 2 squared minus 5. If you know about perfect squares, when you are squaring a term, you square the first one, so x squared, and then the next one will be plus 4, and then your middle term is going to be 2 by x by 2, which would be 2 by 2 is 4, so you would get minus 4x, right? Or you can multiply it out here, x squared minus 4x plus 4, alright, and then you're minusing 5. 4 minus 5 is minus 1, so this would be the answer for this question. Then they want the f inverse of 11. Before you find the before you put x as 11, you need to find the inverse function. We know f of x is 4x minus 1. The first step is to let y be equals to f of x, so y is equals to 4x minus 1. You interchange x and y, x would be equals to 4y minus 1. Right, you make y the subject. We always go backwards from BOD mass, right? So do we have subtraction? Yes, you're gonna carry across, subtract 1. So x, instead of subtract, it's gonna be add. X plus 1 is equals to 4y. Is there addition? No. Is there multiplication? Yes. So if you carry across, multiply by 4, it's going to turn to divide by 4. So f inverse is x plus 1 divided by 4. So f inverse 11 would be x is equals to 11. So it's 11 plus 1 over 4. So that's 12 plus 12 divided by 4 is 3. Right? Then define the value of h of 1. Again, guys, it is a composite function. You would separate the two, so h and h of 1, right? H of 1 is in brackets. What is h of 1? H of 1 would be 3 to the power of 1, which is 3. Right? So we have now h of 3, which is 27. Right? Then the function f is defined as the following. F of x is x squared minus x minus 2. Complete the table below to plot the graph of the function f of x. So wherever x is, you substitute it in this and you'll get f of x or y. Right? So when x is negative 2, y or f of x is 4. When x is negative, well, they already have that. When x was 0, f of x or y was negative 2. when, and that's the only two that you have to find. So my coordinates is negative 2, 4, negative 1, 0, 0, negative 2, 1, negative 2, 2, 0, and 3, 4. Right, so I'm going to plot those lines, right, and I'm going to draw a graph. Right, and that's how you would do this question. Is that it? So, are we good so far, guys? Everybody good? Alright, I'm going to get my next solution, which is, oh, right, then we're going to look at May, June 20. Are we good with me going through the questions like this, guys? Because I think I did majority of the work, especially with the first few years, for you to see exactly how to do the questions. Are we good so far? Or do I need to go more in depth with you guys? Okay. Okay, great. This is, we just now did this one. May, June 2022. Oh, right. A, oh, this one I want to do with you guys because it's a little bit different from what we are accustomed with. This is May, June 2022. So let's read the question and do them together. A rental company has X and Y minivans. The company has at least 8 cars, vehicles altogether. So for the least amount, when you add X and Y, that's what they're telling you. When you add X and Y, the least amount is 8. So that's the first. X plus Y for the least amount. So therefore it is more than or equal to 8. Okay? The number of minivans, so minivans, which is Y, is less than, hold on, is less than or equal to the number of cars, which is X. Alright? The number of cars is no more than 9. So cars is X. X is no more. So is less than or equal to 9. Write down the three inequalities. These are the three inequalities. So from reading this, you should be able to get these three. Are we good so far? Alright, let's go on to part B. A car can carry 4 people and a minivan can carry 60. There are at most 60 persons to be taken on the tour. Okay. Show that 2x plus 3y is less than or equals to 30. So we have 4 people. So how many people could go in cars? That's 4 by x. Right? We don't know how much cars it is, so it's 4x. And minivans would be number of minivans. Well, the number of people in the minivans would be 6 by how much ever y is equal to. That's how much minivans it is. And this would be, they said for the most. So the most is 60, so it will be less than or equal to 60. If you look at, I want to make 4x into 2x, so I have to divide the entire thing by 2. 4x divided by 2 is 2x, 6y divided by 2 is 3y, and 60 divided by 2 is 30. So I do get, when I divide by 2, I will get it. Again, x is equal to the number of cars, right? So 4x would be the number of persons in all the cars. And same thing for y. Y is equal to the number of minivans. So 4y would be the number of persons in all the minivan. What happened? The next one is on the label below. Plot the 4 lines associated with the inequalities in A and B. We have the 4 inequalities that we have is the first inequality is x plus y excuse me, is more than or equal to 8. Then y x, then x 9, and then the last one was 2x plus 3y 30. Now, if you want the equations or for the lines for this, what we like to do is we like to get coordinates for it. And how to get coordinates is we always use coordinates where x is 0 and where y is 0. So when x was 0, and x is equals to 0, y is equals to 8. And when y is 0, x is equals to 8. If you put that in this, so 0 plus y is 8, and then 8 plus 0 is 8. So we know, excuse me, sorry, that the line for x plus y would be this point here and this point here. Do we understand that, guys? Uh-oh. Sorry. I'm trying to hurry up because okay. Let me slow down. When you have an inequality, right, and you want an equation of a line, we don't want that inequality. So what we do is x plus y is equal to 8. We just make the inequality be equal to 8 now. And then the only coordinates that we can have is you're going to let x be equals to 0. If you let x be equals 0, 0, then y is going to be equals to 8, right? Oh, God. And when y is equals to 0, x is equal to 8. Everyone understands? So if you substitute 0 into this, you'll get y is equals to 8. And if you substitute y is equals to 0, you'll get x is equals to 8. Do you understand how we got the 2 points to that so far? Now, y is equals to x. I talked about this earlier with you, Janae, as well as the others. I told you guys that that y is equals to x equation was going to look something like this. Guys, so let's just go back to this question. That is it. Right, so this is the equation. If you look at any values for x, let's say 1, you'll get 1. So what you could probably do is the largest value for x and y that they have in common is this here. So right, the largest value for x is 1 and the largest value, sorry, 11, and the largest value for x is also 11, not 11. The largest value for y is 11. So you look for at x where 11 is at. So you could probably make a coordinate here and then make a coordinate at 0, 0. So x is equals to 0 and y is equals to 0 at this point. And this point here, x is equals to 1 and y is equals to 1. And you get your line for where y is equals to x, so x is equals to y. The next one, they said x is equal to 9. So x is equal to 9 at this area right here. I'm going to straighten it up a little bit. But that region right there, right? And God, let me make back that. Right, I'm gonna zoom in. Right, at where x is equals to 9.
X.
Yeah, x.
Wait,
X there. Then we have, excuse me, you have this one here, which is 2x plus 3y is equal to 30. Again, you let x be equals to 0, so when x is 0, that's 2 by 0 plus 3y is equals to 30, so y would be equals to 10. Carry across the 3, so the coordinates when x is equals to 0 is 0, 10. And this coordinate for when y is equals to 0, that would be 2x plus 0 is equals to 30. So that coordinate would be x is equals to 15. So you'll have 15, 0. So you look for those two coordinates. X is 15 and y is 0. So that's this coordinate right here. And when x is 0, that's on your y-axis. That's this line right here. So now you have drawn all the equation lines, right? So this is what we have thus far. And they said shade and label the region that satisfies all four inequalities. So the first inequality is when you x and equals to y, x plus y is more than or equal to 8. We know that, is that more than? Yeah, more than or equal to 8. So that's more than or equal to 8. That is equation where x and y is more than or equal to 8 would be this region here, right? This region right here, right? That is on your right hand side of your line. Then where y is less than or equal to x would be below the line, right? That's this region here. Then when they say x is more than or equal to 9, that, no, that's not more than. X is, it's supposed to be like this, right? So it's supposed to be less than, which would be this region here, right? And then the last one was when you combine these two, it would be less than, is it less than? Yeah, less than or equal to 30. So you're looking below that line. That's this region here. So which is a region that satisfy all these? That would be right here. So this is a region for, let me put it in black, for R. Don't do that. Is equal to R. Right?
I eat.
So that would be where R is located. Alright, number part D. Determine the two combination for the minimum number. I am going to use my answers for this now, right? Because I don't want to take up too much of time. So this is how it's supposed to look. You saw that I did not do it as scrappy as before, right? But and also when you draw the line, please write where what is the equation of the line? Okay? Right. No, 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 no. Strictly pencil. But by the equation of the line, you just put sorry, by the line you put where what is the equation of the line. Okay? Then we have determine the two combinations for the now the minimum and maximum values are always at your your vertices. of that polygon that is formed. So you see that where they all have everything in common, you're looking at the vertices. So we have this vertice here, this vertice here, this vertice here, right? So you're asking what is the minimum and maximum number of cars. So if you look at this here, you would have 4 and 4. Oh, you that can be used to carry exactly 60 people. So we know that this line here, the pink line that I drew here, that is the line at where you would carry 60 people. So your maximum would be the vertices that is at that line. So the vertice is at this region here and this region here. Where it intersects is 6, 6 and 9, 4. So that obviously is either 6 cars and 6 minivans or 9 cars and 4 minivans. That is the combination, right? And then they ask you, I believe this question is, the company charges $75 to rent a car, 90 and $90 to rent a minivan. Show that the minimum rental cost for the tour is 990. So you are going to substitute. So we know it's 6 cars and it's either 6 cars and 6 minivans or 9 cars and 4 minivans. You substitute these values. Sorry, 6 cars would be 6x and 6 minivans would be 6y. So 6 cars would be 6 by 75 plus 6 by 90, which is what? Where did I do that? 6 by right, which will get $990. But if you need to make sure the 9 cars and 4 minivans, if that is less than this. So the 9 cars and 4 minivans actually cost $1,035. So you know that the minimum amount that you could spend to carry those 6 people would be $990. And that is how you would do this question. And we will end today.